I'm Jennifer Della Quadri, and this is the Raising Happy Teens podcast, where you learn how to successfully guide your teenager into adulthood without losing your sanity in the process. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast. I think I might be getting a little bit punchy in this episode because I am kind of, as the teens would say, hyped for my birthday this weekend. I am turning 50 years old, and I am so excited about that. I love that I'm turning 50 years old. It feels like a huge accomplishment, and I am older and wiser. I'm going to be having a party this weekend with karaoke, of course. You know, I love speaking into a microphone. I do it as my job. And so I get to do this in front of other people, singing songs that I love. And because it's my birthday party, I can sing whatever I want. That actually reminds me of something that applies to this episode. Way back when, I looked it up in 1988, there was a song called Teenage Love by Slick Rick. I was reminded of this song when I wrote this podcast, and it was kind of running through my head, and I watched the video, and it just brought back a lot of memories of growing up, hearing that song, and everything that Slick Rick was saying in that song resonated with me at the time. I was like, man, teen relationships are freaking hard, but they're also really fun and exciting and scary and all of the above. And so now, here we are in our parenting years with teenagers that could potentially either be dating or soon to be dating. And so that could bring up a lot of confusion and questions and uncertainty with you. And so I am here to help you through this. So let me just start by asking you this. Do you remember your first crush? Do you remember your first boyfriend or girlfriend? And do you remember your first kiss? I'm sure you are there nodding your head. Yes, I absolutely remember that. And there's a reason for that. Going through that first love experience, first crush experience, it is a big time in a teenager's life. There's a lot of emotions. You know, as a teenager, there are already a lot of emotions going on. Things are even more heightened. And so when you get into that crush state or even dating state, it feels so exciting. And then at the same time, it can be so incredibly crushing. We all remember this very vividly. And when you know that your teen is getting ready to do this or starting to do this or talking about crushes or you're sensing that they're dating, all of those things, of course, you want to be there for them. You want to support them. And maybe you're not sure how because your parents didn't really handle it well, or maybe they weren't involved at all, or you just hid it from them. I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of the parents I talk to, their kids are a little more open with them. Of course, this is not a blanket statement. Some teens don't talk to their parents at all. So if that's not happening with you, this is not saying that there's something wrong with your relationship. But kids are talking a little bit more about things with their parents sometimes, and you maybe didn't talk to your parents at all. And so you don't know how to respond because, of course, it's going to bring up a lot of emotions in you too. So that's what I'm here for, to help you navigate this so that you can support your teenager through these big times in their lives. And know that love in the teen years, it's going to leave a big impact on them and on you because it's novel, it's new, it's exciting, and like I mentioned before, a little bit scary, but it's also a really big and important part of development. And so know that if you're scared, if you're nervous when you think about your teenager dating, it's going to bring up a lot of emotions for you too. And of course it is. That's completely normal. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about teenage dating and romantic relationships. I'll share with you signs your teen might be in a romantic relationship, especially for those of you who their teen maybe doesn't talk about these things. I'm also going to talk about the stages of teen love and how to support your teen through their first romantic relationship. And like I mentioned before, the emotions are big in the teen years, and that can be even more true when it comes to romantic relationship. So to help you understand what's going on so you don't have to ask your teenager or invade their privacy, I'm here to help you through. Your teenager doesn't want you to come in and ask them about their love life. Trust me, they don't. If they want to talk to you about it, they will. But I'm going to advise you not to go in and say, hey, oh, do you have a crush on so and so? Who's your boyfriend? From the very beginning. No, their love life is their private experience. You are there to walk alongside them and support them through it when they need it or when they ask for it. But honor and respect your teenager's need for privacy when it comes to dating and relationships. And as you'll hear throughout this podcast, know that that doesn't mean you're not talking about it at all. You're ignoring it or anything like that. You're just not barging in and expecting them to share all of the details of their love life because they probably won't and they probably don't want to. So, as I said before, recognize that seeing your teen go through early love can trigger a lot of different emotions for you. It's a reminder that they're growing up and you know this is true, you want this for them, but it can still be really difficult to process. It can also bring up memories of your early relationships, good things, bad things. All of these things can be brought to the surface and you may worry about them. You may worry that they're going to get hurt or get in a relationship with somebody who's not so great for them. And it can all feel really out of control, which of course is scary. So just start by having compassion for all that comes up, not judgment. Love and romantic relationships, they can be really complex. And this might also be a really good time for you to work on healing your own old wounds from your experiences in love and relationships if you haven't already done so that you can be a strong support for your teenager. And also remember that finding love is a rite of passage. It's an important part of development, not something to be avoided or judged. And also remember that unlike teen movies, like they may have you believe, studies have shown that only about a third of teens have dated, and fewer than 1 in 5 say that they're in a romantic relationship. So your teenager may go through the teen years without dating, without a romantic relationship, and that is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But of course, I'm here for those of you who are suspecting or wanting to be prepared for when it does happen. So let me start by saying that love magnifies things. Happiness, sadness, anger, all of the above. But here are a few signs that your teen may be involved in a romantic relationship. They may be distracted or daydreaming more than usual. They may talk about a particular person more often than before or than other people that they talk about. They may be eating less, sleeping less, staying up late, caring a lot more about how they look, spending more time texting or talking on the phone or FaceTiming, and they may just seem a little bit more antsy and anxious. Your job is to try to not point out these behaviors you're seeing because it could embarrass them or make them feel self-conscious and try to hide it from you. You want to be their safe place to talk about things if they want to. So you may observe these things and get curious, but try not to point out, oh, I've noticed that you've been talking about so-and-so a lot lately. Wink, wink. It sounds fun to do. It actually sounds pretty fun to say too. But try to kind of back off and just let them have their experience. Let me dive into now the 6 stages of teen dating. Stage 1 is the crush. So this is before any relationship has even started. It may be one-sided and the feelings for the other person is still kind of unknown. So at this time, you might be seeing some daydreaming or hear them talking about someone specific a little bit more. They might also be leaning on their friends a little bit more than usual because their friends are a safe space for them to sort through their feelings and their excitement. So that's stage 1. Stage 2 is the connection. This is where the do you like me? I think I kind of like you happens. So there might be some flirting or more talking happening, hanging out at school or talking online, Snapchat or text. There might be a big fear at this point of rejection and a little more self consciousness happening. So your teen may be paying a little more attention to how they look, what they're wearing, their hair, and things like that. And there might also be some overthinking going on here. Like, what did that text mean? What did they mean when they acted that way? Were they looking at me? Do they like me or not? Just some general questioning. Then onto stage 3 is when it becomes official. They begin dating. So at this point, you may notice that your teen has a lot more energy and just excitement for life, right? It's that new love excitement. And they may be sleeping a little less, eating a little less, still distracted, and they may want to be with this person all of the time. And if they're not with them, they're going to want to be talking about them, talking to them on the phone, texting them. Their whole world begins to revolve around that person, which can be concerning as a parent. There can be a lot of fear of, oh no, you're letting go of your academics or your friends or your extracurricular activities. Know that this beginning phase is temporary. And of course, they're going to be excited. Of course, they're going to want to dive in. Not all teens are going to be able to sit back and say, you know what? I just really want to set some boundaries in this early relationship so that we don't get too close too fast. Most teens don't think like that. My daughter did, I have to say. It was a little bit strange when she said that she and her boyfriend were not wanting to spend too much time together because they didn't want to become codependent. I thought, how do you even know what codependency is? And how do you know to apply this to your brand new relationship? I don't know. Know that that's not typical and normal. What's typical and normal is I'm going to think about this all the time. I want to be with this person all the time, and that kind of behavior. And then you move on to stage 4 where things kind of settle a little bit. This is when that initial excitement wears off a little bit. There's a little bit more comfortableness together. I don't know if comfortableness is a word, but you know what I mean. And they begin to form a stronger connection and their feelings start to grow. And this is when they may be beginning to engage in sexual activity. So this period is usually the longest and it will also be, filled with some small ups and downs. And so this obviously is the time where you want to have an open door policy. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later because I mentioned sexual activity. That is a part of this, usually typically this stage of relationship building. So yes, you definitely want to talk about it with them. And I have a podcast episode about teen dating that I spoke about earlier, all this topic a little bit earlier. I'll tag that in the show notes so you can check that out too. But that is stage 4. Then we move on to stage 5, which I call the crumbling. So their cracks are starting to form. One or both of the people start to feel a little restless or maybe trapped, or one or both may start to pull away. And this can be really tricky, especially when the pulling away is just one-sided. So the other partner will feel rejected and may feel a little bit desperate. Whatever side of the relationship your teen is on, they may be feeling a little bit anxious. They may get irritable and sad at this time. There's a lot of upheaval going on for them internally because that stability that was there doesn't feel stable anymore, whatever side they're on. And then stage 6 is the breakup. And for obvious reasons, this is the hardest part of the relationship. So it could be quick, it's over, or it could drag on. I know we've all been in relationships. We know what it's like to have both sides. If you are fortunate enough to not have ever experienced the drag on, good for you. You're lucky. It's really hard to experience and even harder to see your teen experience, especially if it's one-sided. So this is when your teen might begin to withdraw, stay in bed all day, cry a lot, be angry, frustrated, and struggle with mental health. So know that all of this is normal. What you're looking for is this a pattern that's going on for an extended period of time? And if so, that's when you would want to step in. This is when you can provide really a safe space for them to feel all of their feelings through the whole process, of course, but especially during the breakup. So let them talk if they want to, or just give them comfort that you understand it's hard and that the feelings they're going through are completely normal and expected. Just validate what they're going through, normalize the experience. And if you feel comfortable or if you think they're open to it, you can also share your experiences with breakups. That can really be helpful, is just to know like this is something that we go through as human beings who have the courage to even enter a relationship in the first place. It comes with heartache and it's really hard. And like I mentioned, just keep an eye out for declining mental health. And don't hesitate to step in if you're noticing that the struggle is severe or going on for an extended amount of time. And it's really impacting your teen's quality of life. So, those are the 6 stages. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about when you think about your teen dating, you may immediately be like, no, I don't want that. I won't allow it. That's bad. It's going to distract from their life or their academics or their friendships or their future. It's really actually very normal and really beneficial to be in a romantic relationship because when you're in that kind of a relationship, it's like a form of self-development. It helps your teenager figure out who they are and what they do and they don't want in life, what they do and don't want in a romantic partner. And it's also a chance for them to practice communication, compromise, empathy, boundaries. And it also helps them learn how to set and keep balance in their life. It's also really a big time for them to practice being independent. I know I mention this all the time, but they're learning how to be an adult under the safety of your roof. And that applies to having a romantic relationship as well. So it's really good and helpful part of their development. And while they're in these experiences, here are a few things that you can do to support them through their early love life. Number 1 is my very most important emphasis is to be an open door. Be very clear that no topic is off limits. And I actually have a really great story about that. One of my friends, when her daughter was a teenager, she wanted to talk with her mom about some things, but didn't feel comfortable. So instead of just sitting down and having a heart to heart or even talking about it, what they did was one person laid on the floor, one person laid on the bed, so they weren't even looking at each other. And then the teen would write something on a piece of paper, like a question, and crumple it up and throw it over to the mom. And then the mom would read it and she would answer it. And then the daughter didn't have to say anything. They didn't have to look at each other. It was allowing for accessibility in the conversation for her daughter's comfort level. I just love that story because it was providing that safe space without the pressure and allowing the daughter to not have to say the uncomfortable things. So if you're not comfortable, that's okay too, but make sure that there's someone else who has that capacity, can be a good listener for your teenager. And make sure that they do have a safe outlet to process the ups and downs if you're not comfortable doing it. But make it very clear that there's nothing that needs to be hidden here, that you are their parent, you've been through life. They don't have to turn to a friend or somebody who doesn't know as much to get their answers. Number 2 is to talk to them about the things that apply to the stage that they're in. So when you notice that they're having a crush or that they are talking about someone a lot, that doesn't mean you have to dive in and start talking about sexual activity. You're waiting until that stage comes because you don't want to bombard them. And the last thing, of course, you want to do is to lecture them. Just talk about whatever's going on in that stage and be willing to say uncomfortable things. And don't lay down the law about anything, because that's just going to lead to an unhealthy dynamic in your relationship, and potentially for them to be hiding things from you or even be embarrassed or ashamed of the things that they're experiencing. Another big tip is to keep an eye out for unhealthy relationship patterns. So if they're constantly arguing, or if there's unexplained bruising or injuries happening, if there is jealousy or overprotective behavior happening, if you notice that they're no longer spending time with anyone else, or they're losing friends, and if you do see these things, don't hesitate to bring it up and talk with them about it. Also, encourage them to stay connected with their friends and be involved in the things that they loved to do before they got into this relationship. Just provide opportunities for this to happen. And be sure to work together to set expectations and boundaries that are aligned with your values, and tailor those to your teenager's age and where they are developmentally. There's no hard and fast rule about what is and isn't okay at any specific age. My rule of thumb is just whatever is developmentally appropriate for them at that age, because some people at 14 are way more mature and developed than other people are even at 16. So you know your teen best. Lean into where they are developmentally. And really just avoid the whole because I said so, because you're too young situation. You and your teen want to be partners in this, and you want to be a safe space. So leaning into this is my rule, my way or the highway, it's only going to push them away. And these early relationships, they're stepping stones and really good learning opportunities for your teenager and also for you. And remember that with anything in your relationship with your teen, just have patience. Take it day by day and just do what you can to manage your stress and your emotions around the experience so you can be there for your teen. So there you have it, the stages of teenage love, how to support your teen through it all. I would love to hear what you think about all of this. Share your thoughts in the comments. I would just really love to hear from you. And if you're finding that you're struggling with anything developmentally with your teenager, you are not feeling connected with them, you're fearing for their future, I can help you. Click the link in the show notes to apply to work with me and see if coaching is the next right step for you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. If you liked this episode, I'd like to invite you to join Raising Happy Teens, my free online community for parents of teenagers, where every week I host Ask a Coach. You bring your parenting questions, and I provide expert advice and coaching. Click the link in the show notes to join today. I'll see you inside.